Good morning. My name is Brenda Bryant. I am a small business instructor at UNR Extension, and our focus is instruction, classes, conversations, podcasts that directly work with small business community. Today's class is going to be taught by Mack Jackson Jr., and it is on cybersecurity, knowing when to call in the pros. Hopefully you have had a chance to look at the two previous classes that he did, and that you are learning about and not being afraid of what is out here in the world of artificial intelligence. So, Matt Jackson, it's all on you.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, this is class three, cybersecurity, know when to call the pros. And for the previous classes, we discussed the cyber threats, what these type of hackers are looking for, how it affects businesses. Well, now we're going to talk about in this particular class, when should you contact a professional about a particular issue? If you individually are having an issue or if your business is having an issue, what signs should you look for? And we'll start by talking about safeguarding small business individuals in the digital age. All right, we'll start with a little introduction. Again, my name is Mack Jackson Jr. I am a professor at DeVry University, the CEO of Vanderson Cyber Group, and also a instructional professor at Texas A&M TEACS program, where we work with FEMA Homeland Security. I host a TV show called Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and I do consulting here in Las Vegas and around the country. And of course, I'm a Las Vegas native. Had to throw that one in there as well. And again, good morning to you, Brenda. And thank you again for the opportunity with UNR program to put this together, these sessions here. And this is session three. Also, one of my partners here I wanted to give a shout out to, and that's Know Before. They're a company that helps train your employees with phishing emails so they understand what a phishing email looks like and make sure that they don't click on particular emails that they shouldn't click on. All right. So, like we said here, today we have an interconnected world. Cybersecurity is not just a luxury, it really isn't, folks. It is a necessity. It's a necessity for us all. It's very, very important. And in today's agenda, we're going to talk about understanding the current cyber threat landscape. We're going to go over that and recognize when to seek professional cybersecurity assistance and implementing proactive and reactive cybersecurity measures for your business as well as home too. The escalating cyber threat landscape. So let's look at some of the stats here, right? In 2024, this information came out, reported to law enforcement agencies around our country. Cyber crimes losses in the United States have reached a record here, about $16.6 billion, right? A 33% increase from the previous year. So folks, what does that mean? That means you're not listening to us as cybersecurity experts, folks. People become more complacent, according to FBI. They're thinking somebody else will handle this. It's transfer of risk. It's somebody else's issues. It won't affect my company. It won't affect my family or my children. They won't be exposed to hackers and scammers. And yes, it's on the increase because hackers look at this as a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job project program. Every day they're looking at ways to develop exploits to penetrate our protection, our firewall, if you would, and our human firewall. Hackers go after that. So small businesses are targeted, with 94% experiencing cyber attacks in 2024. It's been up by 73%, folks. 73%. So we have to bring that down. But again, it's a cat and mouse game. As soon as we tell, as cybersecurity professionals, we tell businesses, don't click on emails. Hackers look for other exploits. Well, how can we get them to click on a text message? How do we get them to guide us through their building? How do we get them to open a door for us when we don't have a badge entering a building? This is the human factor of it that we talk about in these sessions that we want to expose. The global average data breach costs in 2024, just of last year, $4.88 million marks up another increase, 10% more than it was in 2023, folks. So next year, folks, we're going to see these numbers rise more, but we want to bring these numbers down. So next year, let's stay vigilant and resilient. So the next year, we'll see there's been a decrease in this particular number, and that's through education. So do us a favor here with Brenda and I. As you're listening to this, make sure you tell someone what you've learned in this particular session and all of our sessions. So, three concerns that small businesses have, and we talked about this before, but I want to really emphasize this. Why it's important, why should you be concerned if you're a small business, even for your family or an individual? These are three major points. There's others, but these are the three major points. One of them, financial losses from a data breach, loss of business reputation, legal entanglements from class action lawsuits, right? Class action lawsuits affects your business. Customers don't want to do business with you because you had a cyber breach and you lose money. This is the reason why we're in business, to make money, and data breaches can cause adverse effect on any business. So here is a video I'd like you to take a look at, talking about how the cybersecurity threat is a threat.
You might want to tip your baristas a little extra when you get your morning cup of joe, especially today. Starbucks is paying its employees in cash right now after a ransomware attack crippled its payment and scheduling systems. And as we get closer to closing out 2024, Google's cybersecurity team has been working to identify trending scams and threats from this year to help prevent others in the new year. We caught up with the chief technology officer who works with Google Cloud, who says there are three particular threats they anticipate seeing in 2025. One of them, attacks on organizations that disrupt business operations, like the recent threat to affect Starbucks, like we just saw. Usually scammers steal company data, they hold it for ransom with the promise not to publish it. Now, another potential threat is
attacks by other nations against the Western world due to increasing geopolitical tension against the United States or other countries that might have some impact to how the United States operates.
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up the election, so those attacks are expected. And then you add in AI and its advanced capabilities. Experts say scammers will leverage that to create more authentic looking communications with people, so we can expect more sophisticated phishing scams like those emails or text messages that convince people to provide sensitive information.
We anticipate seeing is more adversarial use of AI to help threat actors create deep fakes, synthetic voices, to convince people that there are certain media that's out there or content that's out there that is fake, but they'll try to make people believe that's actually real.
And he says the good news is that the defenders have the upper hand today from an AI perspective over the adversaries, but people need to be careful not to respond to those text messages or emails, especially if they're from alleged merchants, because merchants will not reach out to you asking you to call a number or cancel a subscription.
Wow. Pretty interesting, huh, Brenda?
It's scary.
Yeah, it really is. And that just gives you an idea. I'd like to play videos like that on my shows and my training classes just to show the audience that the media, it's in the media every day. There's information about cyber threats and cybersecurity. We have to stay vigilant and resilient to understand the threat. So why are small businesses target? Well, vulnerabilities, right? Limited cybersecurity budgets and resources, lack of dedicated IT security personnel, and underestimating the cyber threat. These are just three, and there's lots more. But this is reasons why small businesses are definitely a source where hackers go after. They're a low-hanging fruit, as we say, right? It's easy to go after these small businesses. The consequences, 6% of small businesses shut down within 6 months of a cyber attack. True, because of what we talked about before. Loss of financial losses, business reputation, and legal entanglements. Just some of the reasons why and how it affects businesses. So, as we continue with a couple more stats here I want to throw out, the cost of a singular data breach is about $0.62 million, right? After the data breach or the incident happens, 6% of businesses fail. According to Justice Department, 97% of all retailers have had a data breach. And the one that really hits us here of very importance is the healthcare sector. I just finished talking to a group of doctors earlier this morning, and it's the same thing. Do they pay for the cyber attack? Well, a lot of them are being vigilant and saying, no, we're not going to pay it. We're just going to buy new computers and start over again. Well, the hackers take that back to their group and they'll say, well, the doctor's not paying, so how can we get them to exploit? So what they'll do is they'll go after the individual patients by ruining the reputation of the hospital or of the small business by letting their customers know that they've been under attack and there's a data breach. So it's estimated that the cost of these types of data breaches can reach about $10.5 trillion this year. So how do you recognize these red flags? Okay, now that we've got some stats out there, we understand there's a threat. How can you tell if there's a red flag? In the case of a data breach or incident, let's define what the two are. There's data breaches and there is an incident. An incident could be a particular risk or something that may happen, hasn't happened yet to be known as a threat. A data breach is when they've actually broken through. An incident could be you received an email and you clicked on it. Nothing's happened yet, but it causes an alarm. The breach is when they steal. Unusual activities occurring, unlogging attempts, unexpected system shutdown or crashes, unauthorized transactions or data access, employees receiving phishing emails, right? These are all part of indicators that something could be awry. But it doesn't necessarily mean that your information is stolen. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are in trouble, as a lot of employees think, or the business is in trouble or will be in trouble in the future. But what it should do is it should bring up, put you on guard for possible activities that could happen. That's why it's important to make sure you have components put in place, like, for example, your emails, which we'll talk about that in the slides, but there's some things that you could do to protect yourselves. So look for immediate actions such as disconnected affecting systems from the network, noticing internal stakeholders and cybersecurity professionals, preserve evidence for investigation. So what this is basically saying, disconnect your network. In other words, if there is a incident on a network, you have to turn off that router, shut down that router, not let the people sign on anymore until you can stop the actual bleeding, if you would. Definitely contact your cybersecurity professionals. That could be your IT team, it could be your law firm, any of these people you have working with, and preserve all evidence. Now, what this means is, and I explained before, if you see a file on your hard drive, let's say that you're trying to do a lot of this triage yourself, and you see, oh yeah, I see the email that I clicked on, here's a file, I'm just going to delete it. Well, the IT person or a cybersecurity person wouldn't delete the file. We take and isolate it or quarantine the file because we want to see where that file came from. Because if we delete it and then you call in forensics professionals to come in to say see what happened, well, my analogy is like this, Brenda. Let's say you had a burglar entered your house. You took your gun out and you shot him, killed him. Now you call the police. Police comes over and they'll say, do you know this burglar? I had no idea. They broke in my house, so I shot him. Well, where'd they come from? Who were they? You have no idea now because they're gone. That's what it's like when you delete a file. You killed it. What you need to do is take that file, just like a burglar, handcuff them, have your weapon out so they can't move, meaning the virus can't spread throughout your computer system. You get professionals in to find out where that file came from because it could have come from someone that you know. It could be an attack, someone's trying to attack your system, or it could be a nation state. It could be anything, but it would help law enforcement try to pin down where this viruses are coming from and stop it in its tracks. By destroying it, just tells the hacking group that brought that particular virus or burglar to your house, let's not go to that house, let's go to another one. And we want to stop that. We want to figure out who they are.
When I'm working with students and even with my own personal clients,
Mm-hmm.
from a financial standpoint, I ask them to review their financial information. I prefer that they do it daily. And all I'm asking them to do is to look, they know what their patterns are, to look for something that is off. I think I told you that on my account I had something that I had paid. It was 84 cents. And I go, wait a minute, why would I put 84 cents through my bank? Why didn't I just give you $1 and you give me 16 cents back? And so that started the process of let's check to see what happened here. From a company-wide situation and the cybersecurity breaches that you're talking about here, I'm actually thinking for the small business owner, same kind of thing. You know what kind of emails that you get? What's looking unusual? What's grabbing your attention that I've never heard of this person before. I've never heard of this company before. This email signature, the email that we read that says and nowadays it says Gmail on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it will say that, but is this somebody that I know? XQP47. Do I know that? Is that familiar to me? Is that the same kind of, I mean, can we start even at that basic level to start being aware of what's coming at us and knowing when something is trying to attack us, we can see this looks different.
Absolutely, you can. And we have those tools in front of us, and we're all, let's say, guilty of using social media and checking our social media accounts almost every day to see what kind of likes we have, what kind of posts we've done on our social media. We should add our financials to that as well. When you check your Facebook, you check your social media, you check your Instagram, check your financial statement and at your bank. Or even better yet, you can set up alerts with your financial institutions, right? To send you emails if you get transactions that are over a certain amount. So for your example, you could say, I want to get an alert if it's over under $1. Because like you said, you would never pay anything under $1 with using your card. You would basically pay the dollar for it. So if this happens, now you'll get an alert coming over your phone stating that there was in your case, a 4-cent transaction that would set off a flag if you didn't know that what it was for. You can contact your bank immediately and to get it quarantined again to figure out what it was, who did it and why. And again, you want to know that. So let's talk about that for a second too. You want the bank to find out what that was, not saying, "Oh, it was a mistake, we'll just delete it." That goes back to shooting the burglar again. They're gone today, but that burglar has a cousin. He has some friends in his gang that 2 months later could come back and hit you again.
Mm.
So you got to make sure, what is this transaction for? Who's hitting my account? Was it a test? Because a lot of times hackers will do that. They will test cards that they have stolen with microtransactions. It's called anything under $1 like that, or little small microtransactions. And they do it in a form of a swap meet, if you would, Brenda, in the dark net, where hackers will go in and bring their stolen cards to another bad guy, and they'll swipe it through to see if the card is good or valid. So that microtransaction that comes in your case, let's say, hypothetically, 84 cents, the next day you could have a reverse of a minus 84 cents. Now, logically, you'd say, oh, I see the bank made a mistake, and now they credit my account back. It's done. I'm good. You still need to investigate it because it could be the bad guys testing out the cards trying to sell the other bad guys to see if that's a good card with possible money on it.
Mm.
So it used to be
So
in
our awareness needs to be, we need to have an understanding of what we do logically during our daily functions.
absolutely, but modify those daily.
And then looking at what comes from our daily functions that looks out of the ordinary.
Absolutely, you have to be able to monitor it and and check it. And not just the bank accounts. You want to check your insurance forms as well, health insurance transactions, anything like that. Make sure phones, make sure as well. So that's what I mean when we talk about the immediate thing that individuals should do if they suspect that there's a cyber attack happening. Here's another video I'd like to take a look at of a story that I did on News 3 here locally in Las Vegas regarding a cyber threat that happened in our city.
Personal information of more than 10 million previous guests at MGM Resorts leaked to an online hacker forum. The data breach was last summer, but we learned this week that the information was recently published for other hackers to see. News 3's Gabby Hart joins us with what this means for those exposed.
Well, a local cybersecurity expert says that at some point or another, we're all at risk for having our personal information revealed to hackers. But he says it's what you do before and after a data breach that can really make all the difference.
Wow.
That was the reaction of Dominique Moore, who's currently staying at the MGM when he learned MGM Resorts had been hit by a major data breach.
Well, yeah, that's kind of troubling.
The breach happened last summer after someone hacked into MGM's cloud server containing the personal information of more than 10 million previous guests. According to ZDNet, a technology news website, the list of those exposed included CEOs, government employees, and even some celebrities like Justin Bieber. And this week, all of their information was dumped onto a hacker forum.
It's like a swap meet for bad guys where they buy and sell personal information.
The MGM says no financial information was exposed, but names, phone numbers, home addresses, emails, and birth dates were.
Any piece of information is worth something to the hackers or the criminals.
Cybersecurity expert Mack Jackson Jr. says that's enough information for a hacker to have a field day.
You can do a more sophisticated phishing attack we call spear phishing, SMS swapping, which you can use their cell phones and interpret their cellular conversations. You can then study and produce social engineering attacks at their location, at their corporate offices.
MGM sent a statement saying, in part, we take our responsibility to protect guest data very seriously, and we have strengthened and enhanced the security of our network to prevent this from happening again. Mack Jackson has this message for the public.
Stay cyber woke.
And when it comes to staying cyber woke, it means not giving more information than what's needed when you're making a purchase. Also, don't be afraid to ask why certain information is being required of you, as well as checking your bank statements, your credit report, and your credit card statements on a regular basis. I'm reporting live. Gabby Hart, News 3.
Yeah, that was a very, very critical issue that happened during that data breach here in Las Vegas. And it happens like that. That's a multi-billion-dollar hotel resort. Imagine those small businesses that have $10 in their account. It can happen to them as well.
When there is a cyber attack like this,
Mm-hmm.
how soon do people know they've been attacked? Not only the company itself, but the patrons also.
There are rules and regulations that businesses must report a cyber incident to law enforcement and their customers immediately within hours, sometimes up to 48 hours. However, that's when they know that it happened. But there's been cases a lot of times it can take businesses up to 4 years to realize that they have been under attack.
Oh,
So that's the scary part. See, that's the mission of malware and of email phishing. Once you click on a link, it works like a sleeper cell. sits on the hard drive, sits on the server, and learns. Now you add artificial intelligence to the mix. You don't have to have the person there anymore to gather data. The reconnaissance is done by AI bots.
So all the good stuff that we can do with this information, somebody else can figure out all the bad stuff that can be done with the same information.
Correct. And that's why you have guys like myself and others, male and female around the world, that are working on counter-terrorism, if you would, exercises in prevention and mitigation for these types of threats. Because we need to have the good guys work 24/7, 7 days a week, 9 to 5, if you would, on prevention and mitigation and counter activities for cyber attacks, just like you have with the other guys doing it full time.
Gotcha.
And it starts by proactive measures, right? Proactive measures before an attack, implementing robust cybersecurity practices. For example, regular update and patches. Yes, yes. What this means is you'll notice your phone will say there's an update to update your phone with a new piece of software. Yes, that's because the manufacturer, they have other threats that they want to protect their customers from, so they provide patches. Same thing with your laptop. It goes through some updates. You notice when you shut down, it says 2 minutes, 5 minutes for an update. Absolutely do the updates. These updates are very, very important. Second one on the list here is conduct employee cybersecurity training. That's what my company does, Vantage and Cyber Group, as professional in training and educating the public on cybersecurity awareness. You must have these training programs in place. Utilize strong, unique passwords. I have a couple slides on that I'd like to show the audience, as well as multi-factor authentication, meaning have a second level of authenticating yourself before you can have access to your particular files and folders. And of course, backup and restore consistently for security. Now, engaging professionals. Conduct cybersecurity assessments and audits. Now, it sounds, I know I hear people, they think that you call in the professionals, we can come in with one of our magic wands and be a wizard and just snap a button and everything's fixed and everything's back up and running, right? We like that exercise to do, that it's easy to do. Well, it's not, because it depends on what's damaged. But what's really important, think of this way, Brenda. Your insurance company, they probably say the same thing to you, is to make sure that you have photos and inventory of all of your data assets, your jewelry, your things that are important. You know where your birth certificate, your driver's license, your social security number, everything is located in your home, right? You want to have it documented. Just in case something were to happen to your home, fire, boom, you know exactly where it's at. Same thing when we do cybersecurity assessments and audits. We want to look at all of your data. In other words, how many credit cards do you have? How many debit cards do you have? The bank accounts, who are they with? There's the access to them. That information should be created, of course, but it should be put together in a safe place. Because if there's an incident, you won't be able to instantly go back to see where it's at. That's what we do. And we show you how to protect it, the physical data, because again, there's still paper. We still have paper. So we need to protect that paper, because that paper is very, very valuable. And the digital paper, we need to protect that as well with password managers, storage procedures, and are using removable drives, things of that nature. We also go through and develop and test incident response plans. Now, again, think of an incident response plan, Brenda. Same thing you would in your house. If you had a fire in your house, who would you contact? What would be your line of defense? If something were to happen, let's say a medical emergency, who would you contact in your family to respond to help you in this medical emergency? That's what we're talking about with cyber as well. Who would you contact if you lost your phone? I just went through an upgrade for my new phone here, because the old phone had a end of life, they call it. You had it upgraded because the manufacturer was not going to support it anymore. So I had to upgrade it. And it was amazing. It took like an hour and a half over at the T-Mobile to upgrade it. but not everything moves over smoothly. Of course not. I had to go through and um, go around some things because my phone I have now is more powerful than the previous phone that I have. So the new phone doesn't do things that the previous phone did. So you have a routine now that's changed. And it was interesting to go through this exercise for myself as a consultant. I'm thinking to myself, wow, imagine how many customers go through this and just give up, hands up. Just throw their hands up and say, forget it, I'm not going to do that anymore. I guess I won't use that app anymore. That's why we're doing our event, Hacking the Humans, a little plug for that one, where we're looking to do a half-day seminar, and I want to get people from UNMV involved to help the elderly and the average person, our citizenry here in Las Vegas. Bring in your device, your laptop and your phones. And we would like to have the plan is to get the cybersecurity students at UNLV to assist. And we'll have booths and tables where the elder could bring their device, say, hey, could you help me install antivirus software? Mack's talking about it. I have no idea what that means. How do I put it on my phone? And you come there, and the cybersecurity students will be able to help the citizenry with that type of help them put the information in their phone, help them understand what a VPN is, how to use a
Mm-hmm.
password manager, how does that work, and actually physically help people. Because what I'm gathering, although this is very, very good, you and I are doing this virtual, it still does not, it still is not better than the human eye-to-eye contact when you're working with individuals.
Agreed. 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 When I was teaching at a technology school years ago, I jokingly said I was going to start a new business called Rent-A-Kid.
Hmm,
And so they was like, what is Rent-A-Kid? And I said, well, I'm going to start at age 5. And so, I'm a grandparent and I got a 5-year-old grandchild and I got a new phone. I have no idea how to use it. Give it to the 5-year-old. They'll set it up. They'll give it back to me and we're cool. And so these parents, I mean, I had adults in my class, right? So they
hmm.
started laughing. So this one lady says, I'll give you my kid. And I said, no, 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 I'm not starting an adoption agency and I'm not looking for employees, okay? I'm
Right.
just saying that the technology that these young people know because they came into the world into this technology just like all of us came into the world at the technology that was available at that time. I
Hmm.
said, I remember coming home from college and having to change the VCR back to a time versus having a 12 that blinked. And every time I came home, I had to do it again, and I had to do it again, and I had to do it again because the people who were older than I, my parents, my grandparents, and etc., didn't understand how a VCR worked. We now live in a community of technology
Hmm.
that is moving so fast that some of us, and you talk about reaching the seniors, it's not just the seniors. There's
Right.
so many of us that we know a piece of the technology. We don't know the interaction of the technology. And I think what I'm hearing you say is the bad hatters out there are looking for the fact that we have these breaches in our understanding. Let's step in.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. That's exactly what we're saying. The evildoers, if you would, they have meetings just like you and I are talking now. And they talk about ways to break into systems and the vulnerabilities of society. So we must have training sessions that we can counteract that by conducting these sort of creating training sessions. So yeah, so that's what it's like when you're engaging with professionals. Um, we consult with companies on compliance and regulations. So a lot of companies, that sounds very scary. What does that mean, compliance and regulations? Well, as a cybersecurity professional, what we do is to talk to businesses and help them to become more compliant with state, local, and federal regulations affecting their business, especially if they're going for things like insurance. Reactive measures after the incident. So what happens after? Now we're talking about after the incident, right? What what should you do to mitigate the damage? Engage a cybersecurity professional incident response. We just talked about that before. You have to have a correct incident response plan. Communicate transparently with the affected parties, review the strengths of the cybersecurity protocols, and monitor systems for ongoing threats. That's what we do. I would have my team come in and penetration testers and would make sure that that we can't find any additional malware on the system, because a lot of times the
Mhm.
files are stored deep within your hard drive and stay hidden, or sometimes they duplicate themselves that sound like other files that should be there. Now, once we do that, we work on the legal and regulatory considerations, understanding reporting obligations, and ensuring compliance and data protection laws. So that's just some of the things we do as far as our reactive measures. So when should you call us? Well, scenarios: detect sophisticated malware in your system or ransomware. That's a big one. If you detect ransomware, definitely call a professional and make sure it's removed. Compromise of sensitive customer data. Yeah, your employees or your customers have come back to you and says, hey, their data's been stolen. It's because of some negligence from your company. Uh-oh, now you got legal involved, right? Repeated and persistent threats, meaning that, now check this one out, repeated and persistent cyber attacks. Okay, you get attacked and your bank account gets stolen. What happens? You go to your bank says, okay, Brenda, I'm going to give you brand new checking account number, brand new debit card numbers. You're good. We transferred your funds all to your new account. You're good. The bank's done their due diligence because that's a regulation of compliance. 2 weeks later, you get hacked again. What does that mean? Well, now the bank says, well, it's not us, it must be you. So they're going to walk away from it. Matter of fact, some cases they may just decide to close your account and not do business with you because they're saying you're the issue because they don't want to get in trouble. Right?
Mm.
That's a persistent threat. They're coming back again. This is what happens. So hackers try to strike. They attempted to make a strike. You mitigated it, stopped it. They couldn't get any money. So now the bad guys take those plans, that case study, and they go to the darknet and say, hey, you want to try to hack into this individual that we tried to get? Yeah, well, we'll sell you the plans, the contact information, what we stole from this person, so you could try to hack them. But we want money for it. So now they're making money from the bad guys. In other words, the bad guys doing dealings with each other. Now, bad guy B, 6 months later, boom, goes and tries to attack. See how it's persistent? And they'll try to get something. They can get as much as they can get, but why should they just leave money on the table? They'll go to the underground again and try to sell the information to another bad guy. Bad guy C. 6 months to a year later, they strike.
So they're basically just trying to wear you down
Correct.
until they can finally get in and take what they want.
Absolutely. Think of it. But what you just said, Brenda, is nothing new. If you look at history, back during the Renaissance time where there's a castle and you have the
Yep.
soldiers on the king's castle, what do? You keep hitting that wall, coming back, hitting it again until you wear it down. You get a hole in it, bang, then you enter. Exactly what we're doing now. The only difference, we have technology and AI. We're doing the same thing. So we
Wow.
must continue practice with our soldiers within the kingdom to become very good at spotting out these particular crimes. So some of the benefits of hiring a professional: expertise in cyber and threat detection and mitigation, meaning that there are tools that we have that we can put on your system to look for any sort of patterns of transactions that are coming in and out of the intranet from the router. And something looks suspicious or unusual, then it's flagged to be investigated. Access advanced cybersecurity tools, as I mentioned, and giving you guidance on proper best practice and compliance. So, as I mentioned before, what the customer can do now to protect themselves. First line of defense, your password. That's the simplest thing that individuals can do. A lot of the stuff they say, oh, it's going to take us time, blah, 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 to get into it and cost lots of money. Well, the simple one we can tell everyone is to make sure you have a strong password. And just look at this, folks. If you have a password here, let's just check out the one, number 14. Number of characters, 14. It states here, if you have a 14 character password and it's all numbers, 14 numbers, let's just say mixed numbers from 1 to 1,000, it'll take the hacker 41 minutes to break into it. You add a lowercase letter, just the lowercase letters only, 51 years. You add upper, lowercase, and numbers, 14 characters. Look at that, 800,000 years. Now you add numbers, upper and lowercase characters, takes us to 9 million years. And of course, we get to upper lowercase characters with a symbol, exclamation point, things of that nature, a dash. Well, 200 million years. As of today of 2025, when we get quantum computers in, these numbers will change. It will get even smaller time to guess.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's the first line of defense. And to find out more about that, definitely for the viewers, check out our other two videos that we've done, classes we've done, class 1 and class 2. You'll find information on how to set up your passwords and stuff, what that means, and about password managers as well. All right, so as we look here, some tips to improve your cybersecurity for small businesses. Look at, we'll go on the bottom one here, accepting the reality. Yes, accepting reality that it's true. Hacking attacks will happen.
That's the hard part.
Absolutely. People don't want to do that. They want to think, well, that 5-year-old will take care of it for me. Right? That's what will do it. Yeah, we got to be more proactive there. You want to assess the security, I mean, doing a inventory and audit of what you currently have. Must have security training programs in place. Very, very important. Passwords and authentication, which we've talked about. Backups and restore, regular backups and restore testing. What that means, restore testing. I notice they say backups and people just think a backup, but the opposite of that is a restore. That's one of the most important parts because you need to make sure that what you're backing up is safe. And there are tools that can analyze your backup data and tell you if it's any viruses or things in it that's wrong or shouldn't be there. Then we have cyber insurance. Cyber insurance is definitely another option that companies should have, but it's an interesting conversation about cybersecurity insurance. Some of them are requirements now with legislation and compliance, but you have to be careful because you can get cyber liability insurance. You have one incident, they kick you out the next month, or they don't pay it. And people never consider that, right? You think, oh, I have cyber.
No.
I got hacked. I got cyber liability insurance. Great. Yeah, you have it today. If you execute that plan, you may not have it next month. So I always ask my clients when they look at buying insurance, ask the insurance company a simple question. Tell us what you won't cover.
Mm.
And they're like, what? I mean, we had a call with one of my clients and we did a kind of like a bake off with these different cyber liability insurance companies. And we took a half a day, interviewed 5 of them, didn't pick any one of them because they were all good at their sales part of it. But I asked that simple question as the consultant. I said, tell the client what you won't cover. I said, what do you mean? Well, will you kick them off if they have a cyber attack? Well, it really depends. Well, I said, well, yeah, but it does depend every month. Those premiums are due if you want to get them paid or not. I'll pay you if it depends. No, if you don't pay your policy, you're going to cancel them. So, in other words, you want a partner in this if something's were to happen. So the best thing you could do is to mitigate, and provide training.
When you talk about cyber insurance, I think one of the problems especially for small business owners, is the assumption that they have liability insurance and that liability insurance will cover a cyber attack. That is incorrect. Am I right?
Well, it depends on the policy that's written.
Aha. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is, I love the word depends. Everything depends on the situation, doesn't it?
When I went to law school, I think it was the second semester of law school, my first year, professor said, you can always tell when you're talking to an attorney because they'll tell you any question you ask them, they'll say, it depends. Are you hungry? It depends.
Are you buying or not?
Right. Community, it depends, right? So, yeah, you have to read between the fine line and have it in writing. And I tell my clients when we have these conversations with the salespeople, they're like, "Oh yeah, we got you covered. Yeah, that's fine. Show me in a document that it's what you just said verbally is written, or you said orally is written in this document here, and make sure it's covered. Or can we record this phone call? Because when it happens, you definitely want to make sure that you're protected."
Are there specific companies that are cyber insurance companies, or are the insurance companies that are out there that business owners are pretty used to, are they offering this as an addition
Mm-hmm.
to what you can have as a business owner?
Yeah, correct. There's comes out there to offer it as an addition. And there's also companies that provide cyber liability insurance as a sole package as well. There's both.
Okay.
So that's why the due diligence, the vetting investigation is very, very important.
Just a simple question of what you don't cover should
Hmm.
be asked of everything that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it you don't cover and that you're going to cancel my policy with? And they're like, they don't like to talk about that of possibly canceling a policy, but that's what you want to know
Yeah.
of what is it that they, will and won't cancel because they definitely will. All right, let's see. What's our next one here? Oh, so we have a test. Da-da-da, Professor Jackson's not. All right. Which of the following is the best time to contact a cybersecurity expert? A, after your business experiences a data breach and law enforcement is involved. B, when you notice your system running slightly slower than usual. Or C, when developing a cybersecurity strategy or noticing suspicious activity. Or D, only if customer data has already been leaked to the darknet. Ding,
Well,
doo, doo, doo.
personally, I look at this and I said, I want to be in the preventive group, not
Mhm.
in the medication group. I don't want you to treat me after I've already been sick.
Right.
So if I am a novice at this,
Mhm.
I might notice that my system is running a slight bit slower, but I may not, if I'm trying to do this from a preventive standpoint, I
Mhm.
want my people in my company to know what to be looking for.
Mhm.
So I like both B and C. I know there's only one, but I like both of them because I
Interesting.
want them to be I want them to be knowledgeable, but I also want all of us to be aware if we see
Mhm.
something, just like I was talking about with that bank account, if you see
Mhm.
something that's out of the ordinary.
Mhm. Very good. All right, let's see what the answer is. Ta-da. It is C. When developing a cybersecurity strategy or notice suspicious activity, you want to do it in the beginning, like you said, in the mitigation point of it. That's when you would contact a professional. When you see suspicious activity, you have cybersecurity people there because there are tools that we could use to vet it out, see if there is, or put processes in place, train the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Preventive medicine is always the best medicine.
It always, absolutely always the best medicine, preventive medicine. So we have this little QR code on the screen here for the viewers as they're reviewing this particular training session in class 3 to give their feedback and evaluation. So as it shows on their screen, they can take their smartphones out and go in and enter their feedback on how was the presentation today, how they enjoyed it, and just to give us some feedback. And if they're interested in finding and having any sort of cyber liability consulting or any cybersecurity questions they may have for me in the future, they can contact me. So have that QR code for your viewers as well. And the ones that are playing back the video, they could pause it and click on the actual QR code for any additional information. But I want to say, Brenda, thank you again to doing this training session with us. We want to create a proactive culture in cybersecurity awareness, implementing cybersecurity awareness training. Definitely contact my company, Vantage and Cyber Group, and we do appreciate the efforts and the opportunity provided to us by UNR here, extension program for cybersecurity awareness education and training. This has always been a pleasure, Brenda, being a part of this and working with you.
I'm so glad that we've done this. I think it, and I'll just speak for myself. As well as being an instructor here, I also have a small business and I have a nonprofit. And when I look at this, I now have a better feel of how to set up the preventive piece of this and when to call people like you to say, I've gone as far as I know how to go. Now help me do, bring in either the band-aids or the surgical kit to make sure that I am as well protected as I can be. But I have to tell you, the thing that I'm taking away the most out of all of this is when you're talking to professionals, what don't you cover? I love that. We need to get used to saying to someone, I like your marketing speech. It was wonderful, but let's talk about the realities of us working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. And that's definitely we need to do that. Make sure you have these conversations with these third-party companies that are offering services for any of for car insurance, any type of insurance. You have to ask these questions. Use our critical thinking skills, as they say, right?
Some of us need to be taught how to do that, but that's okay. We don't have a problem. We can teach that. We can teach. Well, Matt, this series has been fantastic. I am so happy with this. To all of you who are watching, please make sure that you keep in touch with Mack Jackson Jr. It's worth it to you and to your business.
Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mack.